worry, it's okay. Whatever gets you through the day, and no matter what they find, 15,000 people going.
All of my life, I felt like I was broken. I know you did too. Well, we were. It wasn't our fault in the beginning, but we grew up and chose our paths. In the end, we only have ourselves to blame. We carry our damage through our whole lives. You can carefully shoulder it to a searched out place of healing and leave it behind you in peace, or let it carry you and smash you into everything along the way as it rides you straight into hell.
Welcome to Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump World Heritage Site. From the top of our building, you can venture outside along a paved trail that leads you to spectacular views of Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump Cliff, Calderwood Buffalo Jump, and Vision Quest Hill to the north, the Great Prairies to the east, and the Rocky Mountains to the south. Have a nice day.
I don't know how any of this works exactly. I sure as hell can't put it all in the right order. But I got some things I need to say to you, man. And for once in your life, you're going to shut up and listen. You really fucked up this time. And I'm here to bring you home again. So the least you can do is help me work it out. You're a liar, man. But I'm going to tell you how it really is. And you're not going to like it. I'm the introvert, shy, quiet, and creative. You're the extrovert, nosy, loud, and explorative. We're both sensitive and guarded, overprotective of each other. And we stick together like glue. I'm the brains of the operation and you're the muscle. If I got $20, my brother's got 10. Growing up, we were completely content with each other. We didn't need money or fancy toys. We'd invent our own games and make our own fun. We'd talk for hours and just laugh. Boy, did we ever laugh. Together, we worked it all out. The only secrets we kept were between us. If you couldn't have any, I didn't want it. But you always found a way to get enough for both of us. Together, we loved life. We always rooted for the underdogs. We were the good guys. We're going to save the world. But who's going to save us? I was 17 years old when I got my first apartment. Remember how cool it was? Hundreds of horror movies on VHS. And my complete set of milk crate furniture. Pretty soon after, I found out Mom was going to have to put you into the system. She couldn't handle you on her own anymore. That's what happens to kids with no dads who won't listen to their moms and get kicked out of the entire Toronto school board. She tried to get you back on the farm with Granny and Papa, but you got kicked out of that school too. Mom didn't have a choice. She had a baby. Maggie was at home now. Mom was trying to finish school, but you just had to steal the most Grand Jeep Cherokees. You were a nightmare. But I couldn't let you go into the foster system. So I moved you in with me into my tiny bachelor apartment in Parkdale. You knew you fucked up. and you knew I saved you. You made plans to get a bigger place. You could go on student welfare and pay rent. And Central Tech agreed to let you into their art program on attendance probation because we put together a portfolio of your work and they loved it. We got a bigger place on Grayson Harbor and it was back to school. Everything was going swell. Till I came home one night and find a broken parking meter on our table and a pile of loose change. I come up the stairs and the walls are literally bleeding. There's blood sprayed all over the wall. The place is filled with American train hopper kids, all high and nodding out on heroin. I try to find you walking through our place, calling your name, when some dude my age comes up to me and tries to stop me. Hey, hell's fine, man. Why don't you just relax? Relax? I throw him clear down the stairs. I know you're not fine. I find you in your room. You're sitting on your bed. Your posters on your walls. You're barfing and pinned and swearing up and down that you're straight. You're not. You're 13. I had enough. I didn't need this extra stress and added responsibility. I'm not your dad. Do whatever the hell you want. I'll do it too. You're sad about your life, so you want to use drugs to escape? Well, I'm sad too. Plus, I'm in chronic pain with a spinal injury. Believe me, I want to escape more than anything. I remember the first time I shot up. You pull back, and a red flag of dope sucks into the blood. That's how you know you're in. I didn't pass out. It was beautiful. You plunge it in, and everything disappears. Nothing matters anymore. This is when we began to lose control. For years, we took turns overdosing. So many people died. So many stupid, dangerous situations. Guns in your face, people getting shot. Our buddy was brutally stabbed to death, wrapped in a tarpaulin, and left in a Pickering dumpster. Pickering. I had to talk you out of selling your pinky finger to a Bay Street pervert. One day I stabbed a man in the face with a dead seagull. Never said that out loud before. It sounds just as crazy as it does in my head. Check this out. Adeline's born on October 30th, 2013 in room 13 at 6:30 a.m., 6 pounds, 13 ounces, Devil's Night. Lightning. Kenny goes into hard labor around part 3 of the Friday the 13th marathon on AMC. She's in labor for about 2 days, but the midwives insist that we wait it out at home. Her labor intensifies and their visits grow fewer and farther between until she's passing out for like 2 minutes between contractions. And I think she's gonna die right here in our bedroom with the rest of those sex-crazed counselors at Camp Crystal Lake. I'm so scared to have a baby. What if she's like us? Well, this isn't a holistic choice anymore. We gotta get Kenny to a hospital. The midwives won't pick up their phone, but I know who will. Someone who'd been there for practically every medical emergency you and I had ever had. No matter what time of day or night, rain or shine, from a condo or under a bridge. I'm talking about the brave first responders at Beck Taxi. We have a few choice words with the midwife in triage as we sign out of her care. And the next thing you know, Kenny's got a last chance epidural in her spine. The fentanyl's kicking in. She gets all happy when she hears them mention delivery, thinking we're ordering a pizza. CC's, large extra cheese, mushrooms, real bacon strips, mixed honey, garlic, and hot sauce on the wings, and cheese on the garlic bread. And the next thing you know, we're both fast asleep. No dreams to speak of, just deep black sleep for 1,000 years. But in reality, it's only 4 short hours before the commotion in the room begins, and then the nurse comes in and says, if there's anybody who want to be in here when the baby is born, I need to call them 5 minutes ago. So that's what I do. Well, she dilates the last centimeter. Mom, Cassie, Mags, and Onan. I run back in the room, and it's just like, hey, grab a leg. And I'm on one side, and the student resident's on the other side, and the doctor's in the middle. And Doogie Howser over here is getting all queasy, and Kenny's legs flopping around like a pool noodle. I'm pretty sure it's the first time Doogie's seen a vagina outside of a medical textbook. Even the doctor's like, hey, look alive, buddy, it's showtime. Huh? Kenny rolls her eyes as she bears down. Well, you remember Kenny, my wife? Yeah, remember we got married and you didn't show up? Yeah. Well, she hates reality TV. She invented mutchup, mustard mixed with ketchup. She likes Scotland, like more than people like Scotland. Like practice Gaelic like Scotland, like Killimaharshin. Kenny was your drug dealer's girlfriend. And after the first time I met her, I told you I was going to marry her and she was going to have my babies. First contraction. I can see her head. I can see her head. The doctor's like, you're doing great. Take a little break. I'm like, thanks. Second contraction. 3 big pushes. And I can see her face. I can see her actual face. It's Adeline. This is it. The doctor wants big pushes. Third contraction. 3 big pushes. And 1, shoulders. 2, knees. 3, toes. And she's here. Oh, man. I shit you not. This kid hits the deck, and no sooner she touches down, she opens her eyes and looks directly into my soul, maintains eye contact, sticks out a forked tongue, and poops. Lightning! I watch a dark chocolate Malteser roll across the bed towards me, and I look up to the doctor, and the doctor's like, hey, shit just got real, eh, buddy? I'm like, yeah, yes, it did. But everything's okay. Everything's strangely, boringly okay. Kenny's okay. Adeline's okay. They wrap her up, put her in Kenny's arms, and Kenny's a mommy, and I'm a daddy, and we have a baby, and everything's okay. Every second of pain in my entire life was just to live through to get here. And it was all worth it. I'm not broken anymore. She fixed me right here on the spot. But we're not out of the woods yet. The nurse comes in and says because it was like 50 hours between the time Kenny's water broke and the time Adeline was born, there's a risk of infection, and they have to fit Adeline with an IV to run a 48-hour cycle of antibiotics, and they have to take her down to the nursery to fit her with an IV. And Kenny's at a commission, but that's what I'm here for, right? I can do this. I won't let her out of my sight. I carry her down to the nursery myself, and we get in there, and all these other nurses are doing all these other strange experiments on all these other babies. And then our nurse, without a word, just whips out a giant needle and starts rug hooking. This wouldn't be easy for any new dad to see. And believe me, I see more needles and blood than the Red Cross, okay? But this is surreal. I was thinking about my whole life. Like when you were born, I developed hemophobia, and every single time I saw blood, I'd pass right out. Mom almost died having you, full hemorrhaging. She almost bled right out. She had to get a full transfusion, and they kept her in the hospital forever. I resented you for that. And you always resented me for having some great relationship with Dad that you invented because it never happened. When he left, he didn't just leave you. He left us all. You just never got over it. I'm glad he left. I don't even want to know who any of us would be today if he had us stuck around. He'll live his whole life and never know what a family is. And that's sad. because he had one. He had it. Mom made it. Mom loved us more than anyone possibly could. She was a perfect mom for you and me. She invented keeping it real. Remember when she'd give us $5 downtown and let us spend it on anything we want? I'd always spend mine in the joke shop on something important like fake puke. You'd always give yours to a panhandler. When Mom was pregnant with you, she took me to look at a house in Georgetown we were thinking of moving into. We got there and the real estate agent wasn't there, but the door was unlocked, so we let ourselves in. Mom's like, go check it out, Joey. See if there's a room you like for you and your brother. So I run up the stairs all excited, and I get to this room and I look inside and all I see is fucking friendship bear with blood dripping down his mouth. This Care Bear is just sitting on a toy box and the whole room is covered in blood. There's smudges all up and down the walls and little handprints. Then there's a hand over my eyes as Mom picks me up and brings me outside. Turns out it was completely a murder scene. Guy killed his whole family in there. Now that's a dad that should have just left. Moral of the story is little Joey traumatized. Somehow shortly after that, I got attacked by 2 big dogs in the back of Dad's truck at the laundromat right before you were born. They bit the hell out of me. And then I was deathly afraid of dogs too. They kept attacking me my whole life until I just wasn't afraid anymore. And they stopped. Same thing with blood. Exposure therapy. I passed right out when I was a kid, but then through my life I've seen so much of it that I wasn't afraid of blood anymore either. But this is different. This is baby blood. My baby's blood. The nurse is like, okay, we're going to attach intravenous into baby's foot. Open no, we'll try the leg. Open no. Okay, we'll try IV in baby's hand. Open no. We'll try her arm. Open no. Open no. Oh my God. Adeline's just freaking out, polka dotted, tiny dark beads of fresh blood. And then I got to watch another nurse come in and try to do it again. I race back to the room, close the door, no lock. I try to explain to Kenny why our newborn baby is covered in Band-Aids and now a wild red monkey. And another nurse has to come in and try and do it again. She starts explaining that she's the head baby IV specialist from Sick Kids Hospital. She's like, listen, I know this baby's just been a little pincushion, okay? But I'm the best, okay? I'm gonna try one in her arm, okay? And if that doesn't work, I'm going straight for her head, okay? Her head, I feel like I'm in an Alfred Hitchcock movie. You know that pull focus effect where everything's moving but standing still? That's how I'm feeling. She goes on to explain how arterial veins are on top of the skull and how she won't be putting a needle into her brain and how it's perfectly safe. And I can't help but start to wonder why in the world would the leading postnatal IV specialist be covered in little green and gray spots and speaking in slow motion. Are you okay, Dad? I'm fainting. It's done. Adeline is securely fastened with a double input IV apparatus on the side of her little baby head. She looks like a little ginger predator. Happy Halloween! I go up to Cece's, get Kenny her pizza, large, extra cheese, mushrooms, real bacon strips, mixed honey, garlic, and hot sauce on the wings and cheese on the garlic bread. I even go trick-or-treating up and down Sunnyside so we have Halloween candy too. 48 hours later, they get their test results back. Everything's perfectly fine. We can finally go home with our beautiful little daughter. Kenny's dad picks us up with a crock pot full of homemade beef stew. Drops us all back at the place. Friends were watching the dogs. Everybody was going out of their way to help us. Mom, Cassie, Mags, and Onan. They fix the place up. We walk in. There's a chocolate cake on the counter that says, "Happy birthday, Dad." Oh yeah, now it's my birthday. Oh yeah, I'm a dad. We were pretty tired. Then I remembered somebody telling me how important skin-on-skin contact is for the babies, especially with the dad. So I get our shirts off and wrap us up in a cozy blanket. I'm just walking around looking at this beautiful, peaceful little red monkey, thinking about how scary all that was for her. Then I see she's crying. Hey, look, Kenny. She's just crying in her sleep. Poor little monkey. Kenny comes over and holds us. And she says, "Those are your tears, idiot." Best birthday ever. I wish you had been there when my child was born. I don't even know where you were. Life was never the same after you left. Who moves to Winnipeg? We might have been nightmare teenagers, but you got to learn to walk before you run. And we took our turn as nightmare kids, too. You remember the time I convinced you I was a vampire and you tried to actually stab me through the heart with a wooden stake? Or the time you threw the big rock through the picture window at the front of the house because you wanted to hear the burglar alarm like you seen on the Andy Griffith Show? Well, the best was when you were going to be the next Harry Houdini. You claimed to be able to escape from any trap. Well, naturally, I handcuffed you and put you in a hockey bag and dragged you out to the back field to the climbing tree. And I put you on like a backpack and climbed to the top of the tree and hung you on a big branch and went home. That was a lot of work. Long way to go to prove you wrong. But I'm your big brother. That kind of shit's just my job. I was so tired I passed right out. Hours later, I wake up when I hear the click of the handcuffs locking me to the bed. And you're standing there all sweaty and crying. It was a lot of work for you too, I imagine. And then full of sweaty, tearful frustration rage, you attack me and we're wrestling around all over my bed. We break all of my collector's craft peanut butter glass teddy bear piggy bank jars. I had them all too. Glasses everywhere and both our feet are all sliced up. You only uncuffed me so I could clean us up and not get in trouble. You did get out of the trap though. You were always so fearless. That's why we joined forces to become the amazing Bum Brothers. My favorite. We started the Bum Brothers when we were grounded in our room, but it kept us out of trouble in the neighborhood. We were two homeless orphans that had to travel the world in search of our parents. We had to hustle our money up on the street, so we dazzle passers-by into giant cheering crowds with our amazing acrobatics. The flying elevator was to be our big finishing number. You were supposed to launch off my feet on your stomach, fly backwards through the air, and land standing on the dresser. But after 3 separate trips to emergency to stitch your forehead, we were run out of town. But not even Mom could stop the amazing Bum Brothers. We'd perform again. We had to. How else were we going to find our parents? Other kids were trading baseball cards and we were choreographing stunts off the roof of the parking garage with our nunchucks. Was this some kind of self-fulfilling prophecy or just destiny that we'd grow up to become the Bum Brothers in real life? You're the best friend I've ever known. That's because you're my brother. There's nothing like brothers. Brothers can fight like hell, but they're going to make up because they're sleeping in the same room and eventually they're going to want to borrow each other's shit. Or I might find something you stole. Or maybe you need a little help gluing together a Santa's Village potpourri burner Christmas decoration before Mom gets home. Brothers teach each other about loyalty and honor. Brothers teach each other that blood is thicker than water. Remember when I said we lost control? Pickering, the pinky finger, the seagull. I was 19, you were 15. We made a pact to get clean. You were going to end up in jail. You were already before the courts. I convinced you it'd be the best move and I'd be with you the whole time. If we could get clean, we could move back to Mom's and start over. She moved to the country after she saw what happened to us in the city. She didn't want to chance it with Maggie. You remember when you bought Maggie those roses and her gown and took her to her graduation? That meant the whole world to her. So we did it. We kicked dope. Moved out to the country. I talked you into registering for school too. I did too. I registered too. But I tricked you. It was the old hockey bag trick. I dragged you out to the country and I left you there. I planned the whole thing. Walked you into school. Hey, see you at lunch. Bell rang. You went to homeroom. I went to Texas. Sick of taking care of you. You were going to die. I wanted to live. I wanted to travel. Couldn't be tied down with a kid, especially not a psychotic heroin addict. Dad left. I stayed. I did my time. I made my sacrifices, and the time came. I had to go. I traveled all over, hitchhiked and hopped trains, slept in a teepee behind a woman's college dormitory, stayed in a haunted abandoned high school. I pissed on the Alamo. I saw everything. I did all the drugs. I got beaten up and robbed pretty good down in Tucson, Arizona. That's when I decided to come home. But not before Las Vegas and Mexico. I know my life at the time sounds so romantic and a little disgusting, but it was mostly just disgusting. I got boot rot so bad on the bottom of my feet, the blood was coming out of the tops of my boots. That's what happens when a human actually walks across a desert and they aren't Moses. Almost had to get both my feet amputated. If your Fitbit tells you have staph infection, that might be too many steps. So I decided to leave my glamorous boot rot lifestyle behind me and head home. I heard you were back on the streets in Toronto. You were easy enough to find. You were living in a Spadina bank machine. You weren't even mad at me for taking off anymore, just happy I was home so everything could go back to normal. Before I left, we were making a killing on the streets, squeegeeing and panhandling. But now there's a fresh breed of oogle, straight off the GO train, saturating the market. Ready to come up with a new business plan. We decided we were going to sell PCP to homeless people. It was great money, too. The only downside, of course, was having to be around homeless people on PCP. This is a drug that causes odd, erratic, and unexpected behaviors, and you and me sold it to homeless people. Things were not getting any better. One sunny afternoon, we were sitting in Bocce Ball Park, spinning 40s with Lance. He's dead now. And out of nowhere, you just jumped me. Out of nowhere, unprovoked. And you're bigger now. This wasn't sweaty teenage frustration. This was full-grown psychotic rage. And you start choking me. And I think I'm gonna die. All I could do is jam my thumbs into your eyes until you finally let me go. We sit up and catch our breath. And you're just sitting there crying blood. Jesus Christ. Bocce Ball Park, 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. Man, brother to brother, man. We did it to each other. Blood in, blood out. That's a sobering sight if I ever saw one. I have to wonder how much of how messed up you are is my fault and how much of how messed up I am is yours. I have to get away. Get away from the drugs and the squats and the crime and the death. Get away from you. Get clean. Save myself. Maybe then I can save you. I moved out to Spider's Acres. Spider was an old punk rocker. He lived in London in the 70s, managing a Woolworths by day and cross-dressing by night. He lent Malcolm McLaren the PA system from his funky punky disco show to start the Sex Pistols. Yeah, he's the coolest guy. Gourmet chef. Pen pals with Ewan McGregor. Spider was an ex-addict with a farm in Marmora, and he offered me his space to get sober. So I crawled the walls of a private A-frame cabin on an island in the middle of a swamp for a couple of months. You know what a sick and pathetic and shitty, whiny and emotional time withdrawal from heroin is? It's best done in isolation. Well, I have to move when a girl hangs herself at one of his parties and my fortress of solitude becomes a hotbed of activity and a criminal investigation. That's when I hooked up with the devil. Heather. Yeah. We do what any two young lovers do. We moved to Belleville. All of a sudden, I'm 21 years old, I'm sober in a white lab coat and a hairnet, and I work at a ham factory. The other guys are stuffing the... I'm roping gelatinous pork in preparation for the oven, and the other guys are stuffing them with scrub brushes and rubber gloves. And when they want to break, they kick a chunk of meat over the drain in the floor, and the room fills with blood. And a red siren goes off, and we have to evacuate for cleaning. They call it a blood break. Strange days. Belleville's so weird that Jerry Springer came here to film a whole bunch of episodes. But I'm bored. There's nothing like sobriety to remind you why you're on drugs in the first place. So I do what everybody in Belleville does when they get bored. I go to Peterborough to do drugs. Morphine and methadone, living in a car, same shit, different pile. I come down, see you sometimes, cop some dope, maybe overdose. It's great, road trip. That gets pretty old pretty quick, so me and the devil, Heather, and you and your girlfriend Janine move out to Owen Sound to be close to Mom and Mags for a change. Janine's uncle gives you a purebred Jack Russell Terrier. That dog's pregnant, and I get the pick of the litter. Yours is Mad Dog and mine's Maybelline. Mad Dog and Maybelline. The two coolest dogs I ever met in my whole life. The only time I ever did in jail was for stealing Maybelline back from Heather. The devil. Would have done anything for her. She barked at me for 16 years. Maybelline. Heather only barked at me for 5. So big surprise, we're all trying to stay away from drugs. Heather gets a job at the dollar store, Janine goes back to school, and you and I start writing and planning for the hip-hop group we always talked about. Hobo Banditos. It was white trash paradise, and it was perfect. For about a month. Till you talk us into going to a party on the Rock Cut with a friend of yours. We go, take mushrooms. All these rednecks show up and start freaking out on your friend and breaking bottles everywhere and end up jumping you. I look over, there's like 5 dudes kicking the crap out of you. All I see is your feet sticking out of this crowd of these morons just bouncing off the ground while they lay the boots to you. I lose it, and I jump in there and start ripping them off of you, and one guy headbutts me in the face, and we fall backwards into the bonfire with him on top of me. I go to get up and slam my hand in a pile of broken glass, but I manage to jump back in and start ripping them off of you, and the glass in my hand cuts one of them really bad. And he starts squirting blood way up in the air. Everything goes completely silent. Pretty sure the fire turned bright green and shot straight up in the air another 4 feet like a giant Bunsen burner. Might have been the mushrooms. Somebody screams, and we leave. We race to the bottom of the mountain, step under the streetlight, and that's when I see you got a big piece of glass sticking out of your eye. I don't know what to do, but it's so close to your eyeball. So I just slide it out like a Jenga brick. Oh, nothing pops out. So off we go. Straight to the hospital. I got severe nerve damage in my hand, and you almost die. The next day, Janine calls us from school, and she's trapped in a phone booth and all those rednecks from the party and the whole school surrounding her. So we race up there to rescue her, come back home, and there's like 100 people on our front lawn. So we park around back and call some family for backup, pack up and move that day. We were running out of Owen Sound. So we went back to Peterborough. You guys went back to Toronto. We pretty much just hid out with our shame and addictions for a long while. Then some filmmaker meets you on the street while you're panhandling and casts you in his movie. It takes you clear across Canada to film. You stop in Peterborough and I shoot you up in his movie. For real. It premieres in TIFF. For real. The International Film Festival. I put on a full long sleeve shirt and go to the premiere at the ROM with our mother. I sit beside her, she watches me shoot up my kid brother. Promise her I'll come back home and get clean. But not before I fuck off for another 10 months. I find cocaine and abscesses and new styles of overdoses. I was trapped. It was bad. Mind you, I was employed the entire time. Nobody's got more hustle than a drug addict. I filmed horse races at the Cruor at the Downs. I made animations for the Dude Who Made Your Drug movie. I made more money off of that than you did. I built a youth shelter, which came with a healthy stipend after a mandatory portage trip upon completion of the program and construction of the shelter, which is not a relaxing thing to do on cocaine. I try explaining to your methadone doctor that you need enough carries to last you through your canoe trip in Gananoque. You never heard that one before. Dope is slavery. You can romanticize and justify it all you want, but it's a death sentence, especially nowadays. Addiction is a disease. It's in the blood. I could have kept going, but I was literally near death. I ate half a licorice in that whole 10 months. It was delicious. I stepped on a mason jar in my bare feet and almost severed my big toe. I got infective endocarditis. It's an infection on the inner surface of my heart, and I had to have intravenous antibiotics for a week. Then I got an embolism. It's a traveling blood clot that goes into either your heart or your brain. 99.9% fatality rate. I didn't know whether to cut my throat to try to let it out or call mom and say goodbye. I just stood there and watched myself die. I prayed to survive so I could turn it all around. And then I woke up in the hospital, alive. So I went back home to mom's. She just cried when she seen me, held me. She'd never seen me like that before. Nobody ever seen me like that before. I kicked it all out. 11 days straight, seizure watch. Papa would come in and check my temperature to make sure my brain wasn't swelling. Leave me nice food and goodies that I couldn't eat. Papa died. Granny too. A month later in the same hospital bed. You hear about old couples like that, where one goes and then the other follows soon after with a broken heart. So I went to rehab, which for you and me was always just a box of beer and a bag of weed. But this was a real rehab. I just wanted to live and get my dog back. It's funny how I lost my fear of blood through all this exposure therapy, only to end up with post-traumatic stress disorder from addictions and IV drug abuse. That's not really funny at all, though. People change. Through the short years filled with long days, we change every day until we're almost unrecognizable, even to ourselves, especially to ourselves. You'd still recognize me, obviously. I have a lot of identifying marks. We were both pretty good at collecting those. But I don't know if you'd know me. I've changed. I've done some strange things, man. I'm a social worker. I helped draft a code of ethics to hold people accountable for their behavior. That's a pretty long way from the seagull, man. I'm an upstanding citizen now. I do improv. I bring invisible bricks to help build imaginary cathedrals in a theatrical exploration of acceptance in a culture of love and understanding. You would not trust these people, man. They're nice. You see what I'm doing here? This is my testimony to you and myself. I know it's a lot. There's no shame in my game. I want it all on the record so we can just move on. I think we both lived and died enough times by now to just at least try to start getting it right. So I graduated, got my diploma from rehab. There was a ceremony with like 100 people there and everything. One dude got up and sang Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. A cappella. The whole song. Basically, I'm pushing 30, but I'm starting to get my shit together. I'm relatively sober. Big win. I got an apartment. I got a new girlfriend who isn't Heather. Another big win. I'm on disability, playing bass in punk bands in Kensington Market. I'm living the life of Riley. You changed too. Although you were a little less concerned about getting your shit together. Somehow you end up in Montreal. You're living at the Loud House, which is basically just a dirty punk squat. And when your roommate's pit bull eats your face off, you decide to come back home. I guess 10 hours of reconstructive and cosmetic surgery gives a guy time to think. You changed. Unrecognizable. I'll never shake your description of the dog after it happened, just sitting in front of you, chowing down on pieces of your lips and skin. But it's like I told you in the hospital. You gotta watch your mouth, man. So you come back to Toronto, and in no time we're back on our bullshit. Some guy bricks you in the head on Queen Street, and then later you put that guy in a coma. Those other kids cracked your skull open, wide open, with a police baton. Most blood I ever seen in my entire life. You break a chair on the side of my head. We got stabbed on acid at karaoke. One night we're drinking at the Miracle, and you jump me. And I come to, and you're standing above me holding a giant wooden table over your head. And I roll out just as you smash it into pieces on the ground where my unconscious head had just been. I find 2 of my teeth on the floor. I realize my face is ripped open. What the hell is wrong with you, man? That night I'm so upset, I throw myself in front of a car. The car is parked at the time. But I just lay there and cry. We aren't getting any recording done, so you go back to Montreal. And almost a year to the day later, the same dog bites your face in the same spot. So you come back home. Then you get in trouble. So you go to Halifax. You get in trouble out there, so you come back home. Then you get in trouble, so you go to Sault Ste. Marie, but you always come back home. You always come home because that's where your family is. Me, Mom, Cassie, Mags, and Onan. Cassie was only Mom's boyfriend Pat's daughter, but we never thought of her as anything less than a full sister. When Mom and Pat broke up, she stayed with us. It's family. Pat died too. Killed himself. Covered himself in fentanyl patches and just suicide. Cassie found him. Cassie's been an adult since she was a baby. She's the most serious little kid I ever met in my entire life. When her dad left, she stayed with us. That's family. Remember how proud we were when she named her son after us? Joey Harold. Mom named you Harold after her little brother who got struck and killed by a freight train when he was 17. You didn't know Uncle Harold because he died right around the same time you were conceived. And you were just born into the midst of all that grief. So we're back in Toronto again. Your face is all healed up again. This time's going to be different. we're going to record our album. Hobo Bandidos, Familia Para Toda la Vida. For all of my family, for all of my life. Onan does more for us than I think he'll ever know. He refuses to work with us when we're messed up and encourages us when we're doing good. I know we both like to take the credit for Hobo Bandidos, but he's the glue that held it together. The balance between you and me that made it work. Onan, Paul, as his parents call him, is just like another brother to us. He admits that he can only really be himself when he's around us. Too bad we didn't spend more time together. We're lucky to have a real friend in him. Remember the time we finally talked him into trying PCP? And he couldn't feel his ass? And he thought that his ass was gone and that we stole his ass? Papa says that when you're ready to die, if you can count your real friends on one hand, you're a lucky man. How many can you count on one hand? We start to study Kung Fu. We're serious about deep healing and getting on a true, meaningful path. We hear that if you take DMT, you'll have a vision quest come to you in a dream a few days later. And if you follow the dream, you'll get everything you want in life. The only catch is the price is 1 year off your life. That's what the shaman said anyway. Well, she wasn't a certified shaman. She was our drug dealer. She was pretty spiritual, though. So what's a year? We already just wasted most of them anyway, right? If I added up the hours, I certainly spent a year in line at the needle exchange. Did you really care to get the year back you spent living in the bank machine? So we went to your house. We ordered up some pizza, CC's, large extra cheese, mushrooms, real bacon strips, mixed honey, garlic, and hot sauce on the wings, and cheese on the garlic bread. And we smoked the spirit molecule. It's a 2-minute high. I'll fly out of the stratosphere through the heat and cold to where I'm perfectly comfortable and calm. I look down at the earth and have a great heartfelt laugh about God and the devil. 2 minutes later, I'm back in the room for your turn. I feel great. You, on the other hand, buckle over in pain and fall to the ground. Start screaming and puking, dragging yourself across the floor, begging us to get them off of you. Pull yourself out onto your deck, just screaming. Your tortured cries finally subside into sobbing. You come back in and ask us all to leave. 2 days later, I have my dream. You're never allowed to tell anyone about your dream, but I'm so excited to tell you I had it, to find out if you had it too. And you tell me you don't want to talk about it. Well, this is where we parted ways. I followed my dream. I quit drinking and doing drugs. I went back, we recorded our album. I went back to school, became a social worker. I met Kenny, fell madly in love, started getting into comedy and doing improv and traveling all over the place. We had a baby, we bought a house, we got married, we bought a car. I was happy. You drank harder than ever. We couldn't play live anymore. You got deeper into drugs and addiction and started selling drugs to my clients at work who died. You tried to sabotage my relationship with Kenny. You got stabbed in the chest and moved to Winnipeg with the worst woman in the history of the fucking world. You start working on the pipeline and living in labor camps and stick a metal hook into your face at work in the same spot the dog bit you. You missed my wedding because you're arrested on a military base by military police, I guess, with a trunk full of guns and drugs and money. You break both your feet in the process. You were supposed to be my best man that day. You get chemical burns all over your face and cut your finger off. You get hooked on benzos and start calling me in the middle of the night, threatening me, telling me I'm going to lose my family. I don't even know who you are anymore. I had to block you. When you went down that path, it's not like I didn't understand. I've been down that road before. I was just horrified by what I'd seen there and couldn't for the life of me go back. I had too much to lose now. There was too much at stake. I was fighting to protect myself from my past and protect my future from my family. When you went there, it's not that I didn't understand. I just couldn't join you anymore. I never turned my back on you, but your choices didn't exactly open my arms. I never thought I was better than you, just better off. Can you blame me? No, you can't, because you're fucking dead. What the hell is wrong with you, man? Mom's at my place recovering from an emergency hysterectomy operation. She contracted hepatitis C when she gave birth to you and from that transfusion. And her health has been pretty much downhill ever since. I just unblocked your number after I don't know how many months. We're speaking pretty regularly again. Both our dogs were gone now. I was living clean. You were getting tired. We've been away for a couple of years. We were missing each other pretty bad. You're ready to come home. Maggie was over, and we were FaceTiming with you and sending you pictures of what you look like as a little kid and an old man. And you were laughing your ass off because I made a way prettier woman than you. But we all know you were jealous. It felt like we were all together for the first time in a long time. I was doing my thing, going to work. Nurses were coming in to take care of Mom. Maggie was there to help out, and Kenny was taking care of Adeline. I come in late after an improv show one night, and Mom and Mags are still up. And I know right away something's wrong. Maggie says she was talking to your girlfriend. You hadn't been to work or reported a physio for your finger, and nobody heard from you in a couple of days. Maggie files a missing persons report with the Red Deer police. You've done this before, but you'd always call from some rural hospital or cop shop. Something doesn't feel right about this. I tell them to try to get some sleep, and I go to bed. No dreams to speak of, just deep black sleep for 1,000 years. There's a knock on my bedroom door. I jump out of bed, and it's Maggie. She says, "You better come out here." I walk out into the living room, and Mom is sitting there white as a ghost, and she looks right into me for a second. And she says, "That's it, he's gone." Then she has to look away. She says, "We lost Harry. Harold's dead." Yeah, I fell to my knees at Mom's feet. And if there are any words, I don't remember them now. Everything goes sideways, and I can feel myself beginning to drift. I haven't had a drink in years. But I pour myself a finger of the good scotch we keep for Kenny's dad. And for the first time in my entire life, I call the police. I tell them who I am, and the woman at dispatch says she'll radio the officer from the scene on the road, and he'll get back to me ASAP. In the meantime, I call all the aunts and uncles on Mom's side. It honestly doesn't even cross my mind to call Dad. I call a few select brothers who I feel should know. And then I phone Onan. We cry at the truth and make plans to meet at the cherry blossoms in High Park the next day. I pour myself more whiskey over ice. I continue to just drift. In these moments, I lose my mind. I'm drifting off my porch into the night until I'm just not. It's like I have an unbreakable chain strapped around my ankle, tethering me to them. Mom and Mags and Kenny and Adeline, I run back in to check on them, and we're all in shock. My phone rings, unknown number. I take it back into the black with my whiskey. The officer identifies himself, and I cut right to the chase. I tell him I'm your brother, and I want to know what happened. I tell him I need to know everything he knows, and I assure him that I can take it. He takes a deep breath and begins. It says he pinged your cell phone at the urgency of Maggie's missing persons report. Your cell pinged right off a tower in your neighborhood, so he went to your address. How's that for police work? You can hear your TV, but gets no response. So off the record, he gains access to your unit with some firm encouragement applied to the door. He makes his way into your place, calling your name. He stops, and I can hear him begin to cry. I tell him it's okay. And he tells me that's when he found you. You're sitting in an easy chair, face down on the coffee table in front of you. And the table was covered in blood from the impact. He says you have a notebook out and a pen and appear to be writing what he calls a nice love poem. A glass pipe and a small baggie of white powder are collected and sent along with your body to the medical examiner's office in Calgary. I thank him for being so respectful. Tell him you mean the world to me. And he believes me. He tells me how sorry he is for our loss, and I believe him. So thank you for making me share one of the most genuine and truly emotional moments of my entire life with a fucking cop. I fly to Calgary and get a room at the Travel Lodge. I see your dead body, and it breaks my heart. My job was to come here and bring you home to Mom and Mags, and that's what I'm going to do. Mom told me not to worry because it won't hurt so bad in 15 years. Now you're being cremated, and I drove straight here to head smashed in Buffalo Jump. There's nowhere in the world more fitting. Nothing but big skies and stark plains where the buffalo roamed. Powerful, sacred ground, so free, yet so sinister, like heroin. I'd seen the great beast fall, and it feels like my head's been smashed in from the weight of it all. I'm standing here under the shelter of the ledge, thinking about today, your dead body. I'm thinking about the oven door slamming shut in the crematorium. I pushed the button myself. I'm thinking about how the buffalo had to be tricked into throwing themselves to their deaths. And I'm thinking about the broken bones and the hot blood and the sacrifice and respect. I'm thinking about the garbage can in the alleyway behind your apartment filled with the rags and paper towels soaked in your cold, dead blood. The blood that was so hot and mighty and feared and revered. What about the fentanyl crisis and the government letting it happen? Fuck stigma. Nice people take drugs. You're a powerful warrior. This is an accident. This is a fucking ripoff. Looks like you're done. I lost a year off my life today. Today was my year.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Toronto Pearson International Airport. The local time is standing still and the temperature is cold. For your safety and necessary discomfort, please remain in shock and deeply in grief until the captain turns off the fasten seatbelt sign. Please check yourself for any baggage you may have brought on board with you, and please use caution when opening up the overhead bins, as heavy articles may have shifted around during the flight. On behalf of the next few difficult years, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we look forward to inevitably seeing you on board again in the future. Have a nice life.
Cassie makes a beautiful video collage and gets exclusive permission from Bryan Adams' people to use his 1991 hit song, Everything I Do, from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves soundtrack. And she shares it on YouTube. Oh, you didn't know that when you die, people find out you used to sing Bryan Adams songs to your mom? Well, they do. And they love it. Onan and I get matching tattoos in memoriam and mix the ashes right in with the ink. Not a standard procedure, but we know a guy. Maggie writes some of the most beautiful, heartfelt words I've ever read about you. We're closer now than ever. We don't waste one day. Thank you for that. Maggie's got one of the deepest, oldest souls I've ever seen. She's her own worst enemy, but once she gets out of her way, there'll be no stopping her. She's going to be fine. We're closer than ever now. I don't know where I'd be without her. Mom? Well, Mom does the best that a mom can do. I'd say, considering she has cirrhosis in her liver and varicose veins in her stomach and esophagus, a cancered kidney removed only to have the stitches burst open, herniate, and bleed out, and diabetes, and dangerously low iron and hemoglobin platelets, and nerve damage to her left sciatic and cancer completely through her lymph nodes, and her son died an untimely and tragic death, and her body went into complete shock and stopped healing from her hysterectomy, and then both her parents died a month apart. I'd say she's doing pretty fucking good. I'll tell her not to worry because it won't hurt so bad in 15 years. And Kenny is just my everything. She's been so patient and understanding with me. It can't be easy considering... Oh shit, you don't even know. It was too soon to tell you and we only just started talking again. Kenny was pregnant, man. We have another daughter, Violet. November 20th, 2017, 10 p.m., 7 pounds, 10 ounces. God take, God give. I guess I needed the extra weight in my anchor. Everybody says she's just like you. She pees her pants and cries all the time. Oh, baby girl. It's true, though. She likes to stick her fingers in Daddy's eyes and pushes shit over when she's hungry. Together with Adeline, it's just like a little girl version of you and me. Every day I see it, and every day it fixes me. I hope you can see it too, because I know it would fix you too. I borrowed your shoes. Oh yeah. You owe me $800. Keep it. Harold, you're a liar and a psychotic asshole. You're my favorite writer and the funniest person I'll ever meet. You're brave and brilliant and full of life. You're my brother and my best friend. And I'll remember you always and love you forever. You always said that when I died you were going to have me taxidermied. But you ran out of time first, so I did you one better. Thanks for listening.